Hi, and
Hi,
welcome. Hi, Dr. Adrian.
how are you?
Hi. I want to welcome everyone to the Mercedes Lucky Benedict show, and we have an incredible guest here again, his return, the doctor of the most amazing doctor I know right now is actually, I have several of you doctors that I know right now, but Dr. Adrian Finkelstein, you are one of a kind, and I am
Yeah.
so thankful that you are here with me tonight again.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you.
You're welcome. I always am still trying to figure out this start of the show now, and I think I did a little bit better this time. So, with that said, I want to make sure that everyone knows that you can always watch Dr. Adrian Finkelstein on the Unseen Realm every Saturday. And if you see my posts or anything that I'm doing, you always know that he is part of our amazing team on that show. And we welcome you over there as well as we are welcoming you all here to listen to him speak tonight. Dr. Adrian, how's your day been going?
Well, the day was pretty smooth. Um, I didn't get any sharp, corners there. But I think, as I said before, I make a pact with myself to start the morning and to continue all the day, to feel okay and to ask God to be my success, bringer or whatever you want to say, because God is doing it. So I put God in front of me and I say, hey, uh, thank you, God. I
You got
really I really thank you ahead of time for giving not me but through me a good time to anyone around.
That's really great. And I love doing that too. Like if you start your morning out and you kind of like set that intention for the day, it really does make a difference. Um, and even going to bed at night before you go to bed, just kind of already clearing that path. I think
Mhm.
that's a brilliant way to do things. I was going to mention this to you, and I guess I'll start with this before we start on this subject at hand. It's kind of a mixed. It's the same subject, but recently, I guess it was this past year, I actually started to delve into the Silva method. And I was very interested in the fact that the Silva method actually is teaching people how to do remote viewing and how to do this like they actually have where you can tune in and train how to be in a plant, all these type of things which I've learned to work with myself, like how to become into a different a person or how to help heal them. And I was wondering what you thought about the Silva method. Have you
Well,
looked at that?
I personally don't. Uh, I'm an improv. I improvise a lot of things, and when I improvise, I ask God to guide me
Right.
what to do. Certainly, I make a plan like we do all in this world because in this world we have to be careful how we do it. In the Garden of Eden, as I said at one time, we don't have to take care of ourselves. God is taking care of us. But
Yeah.
here on earth, we have to do both, to take care of ourselves and to ask God to still help us as much as possible and not to falter. So, but that reminds me something that I was supposed to do. A dissertation, and when I finished my training, and my subject was the influence of dreams. Um, uh, through hypnotic or not hypnotic means on our mind during sleep and dreams, and um, they recognized it as being practical for many. For instance, you may go ahead and say something, I'm going to sleep and I will have very pleasant, very creative dreams, very healing ones that will make me feel very refreshed and rested with a minimum amount of sleep per night or per 24-hour period, and feel energetic and helpful to myself and others all day long. And so basically, this is one example.
Yep.
Uh, Certainly, there are others, that I know that some of the wise people devised during many historical times how to do it, but it's about the same thing. So, having creative dreams, healing dreams. That's the point, and guiding dreams too, and everything through God. And I always thank God that's been done.
Right. Yeah, yeah, so I think, and I love that when we talk about that, when we get to talk about that on the unseen realm. I love those little bits of wisdom that you're able to give out. Um, and so yes, I think you definitely understand what I'm saying. And when I talk about the Silva method just then, it's not that I am complete. I was just surprised. I've heard about that method all my life, I guess, or half of my life, and I had no idea that's what it was about. So I kind of looked into it a little bit, but I realized, like, I have God. Like, I mean, God is my connection, and all I have to do is just be in that space, and so that's. But it was interesting to find that method, to look at it and actually see what it was without knowing about it. Okay, so I want to. This was a. I know we could go off into so many subjects right now, but I really wanted to talk about some particular things, and I want to list off for the people that don't know, that do know you. I'm sure they would know these, but for those that do not know about this, you have some amazing books, and they really are. And one of them is called Your Past Lives and the Healing Process, and it's through a psychiatrist's guide, your observations. And that there's another one that is a the psychiatrist. Let me. Oh, I wrote it down so funny. Um, the psychiatrist.
Referring to this one,
God. Yeah, the psychiatrist search for God. And that, see, I think these are so important. And then you've got the ones that you have with Jean Harlow, and that's called By Love Reclaimed. And then there's another part to that. Yeah. And so then there's the Marilyn Monroe Returns. Yes. And I think there's even more. So all of these books that you've written, when we look at you, okay, so you're actually um on the Maryland, I think it was the Maryland, or maybe two of them, but you are you're the writer and the executive producer of that. So you were able to write this book. You were able to do this process, to write this book, and then it went to a level where you were actually then part of the production of this project. Could you talk a little bit about your life and what those books came from? I mean, your studies. I know this is a huge subject, but let's cover as much as we can.
well, it started basically sometime in 1998 that I got a telephone call from a Sherry Lee Laird that happened to be at that time on the top of the charts as a singer, and with her song "No Ordinary Love."
Hmm.
So she called me because she was having different states of mind that bothered her, she would have flashbacks and nightmares of having lived as Marilyn Monroe in a previous life. And she knew that for more than 20 years I was doing research in that field. So she called me for help because she was tortured sometimes by these nightmares in particular. And so that started it. And through communication by emails, and later on going to Toronto, where she was residing at the time. I um, I started doing past life regression on her. In other words, through hypnosis, and she reached a somnambulic state, a very deep state. We did hypnosis. Now, it's very well known that everyone knows about Marilyn Monroe, or almost everyone. And so there are so many accounts and books and media and everywhere, and over the libraries. So I was concerned that whatever she is going to tell me under hypnosis may be influenced by this outside information about the life and death of Marilyn Monroe. So I used what is called selective amnesia in my hypnotic technique, which means that you ask the person to, under hypnosis, to, and I'm telling deep hypnosis because it has to be very deep, somnambulistic, when it's complete amnesia of what happened during the session. And I would ask to forget about all the information she's had on Marilyn Monroe from outside sources. And I would mention them, whether they are books or films or other media, or word of mouth or whatever. So, and it's like, to give you a simple example,
Okay.
what is selective amnesia? Let's say I'm showing to you five fingers, and I one, two, three, four, five, and then I say, well, this finger is not there anymore. It disappeared. It's gone. And um, I would then show the five fingers, and the person would count one, two, three, four.
Hmm.
Would skip the one that I said that it disappeared.
Right.
Okay, so that's called selective amnesia
Hmm.
under very deep hypnosis. So, and she was very emotional. It appeared in CNN, MSNBC, BBC, Geraldo Rivera, all this, you know, very well known television stations, and and the clips of my video that I recorded with her showed how emotional she was, and um, she was very credible, especially when she was talking about her relationship with JFK.
Hmm.
So as the time went by, being involved into this work, I felt like a surge of energy
Hmm.
that I've never had in my life. It's like God said, well, I picked you to do this kind of work, but
Right.
I want you to have the energy to do it. So I'm giving you a lot of energy. So usually I sleep enough time, maybe 6, 7 hours, sometimes eight a night. But in this case, I was sleeping like 3 or 4 hours, and I felt like I slept too much. So a lot of energy, and I didn't know where it comes from. And it's not just for a day, but this research went on and off for 8 years.
Wow, 8 years. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, yeah, because it stopped at one point because she was concerned about her um, profession as a singer, that it may affect that because people don't understand
Right.
that she claims she's Marilyn Monroe. So that may affect her, work as a singer. So she gave it a break, hiatus there of a few years in between, like the three or almost 4 years, and then she reconnected because she felt like suicidal, and she felt that she needs help, uh, and but real help now. So I started traveling to Toronto and conducting the past life regressions on her under hypnosis, and finding more evidence. And so, but it was always a very controversial issue, as you can understand,
Yeah.
because they say, well, everyone wants to be a celebrity, and in a past life, and how comes? But they didn't take into consideration that before meeting Sherry, I dealt with regular people doing past life regression, and I encountered hundreds and thousands of them that didn't, they weren't celebrities. But let's put it this way. Celebrities are people too, so they are entitled to have a past life too, if that's the case. But so that's in a nutshell with Sherry Lee Laird. I used many um, parameters to prove about her. Selective amnesia is one of them, But some people said, well, how do we know that she doesn't invent that? And so I used also FBI facial recognition because uh, Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia, he found out that uh, it's very obvious that people that reincarnated, they and not after a long period of time, but say within 100 years or 200 or 300 years, they seem to retain the same bony structure of the face.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and also uh, then I thought about FBI facial recognition, and that seemed to fit like a glove with Sherry, because the margin of error was only 1%. And in order to be statistically plausible, it should be not more than 5% uh, margin of error. So
Okay.
with her, it was only 1%. So she was very close. I mean, most probably, most probably, she is the same person with the same personality, because also the personality I analyzed as well. Being a psychiatrist, especially, I could do that very easily. So, and the traits of personality were similar. The conflict was similar because she was continuing the same thing from past lives, and it was a parallel there, continuation. There are three laws of reincarnation: is continuation, consequences, and uh, compensation.
Hmm.
Some people come to continue what they didn't finish in the past life in terms of their experiences, what they have to learn in a life. Others come in order to compensate for something, usually that was done, uh, you know, uh, mistakenly, and they correct the mistakes. And others come for consequences, which we call karma. There are others that come in this category for good results, for dharma, because they did something good in the past life. So, so that's with her. It was a continuation.
So,
Uh,
Dr.
yeah,
Adrian, could it possibly also have been? This is just a question, but so the same spirits that have were part of, trying to mess her life up at that time. Let's just say there was entities or something that were trying to mess her life up. I mean, she was dealing with a lot of things. She was also dealing with drugs and alcohol, which come with their own spirits, and plus being who she is. Now they can travel along into this new life, and it's like the karma thing. So would that be something that you would have found out, or like if this was holding on to, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
yeah. You're talking about the demons that
Yeah.
she was accompanied by from life to life.
Right.
That were the same demons. Well, she was in another previous life. She was. Uh, 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 she was also in the royal court of King Louis XIV,
Okay.
uh, and she was, uh, the concubine of the king, Roi du Soleil. Uh,
So
um,
you were actually
yeah.
able to go and communicate and get other lifetimes
Oh
from
yeah,
her,
like
right?
this one, Louis de Lavalier. Louis de Lavalier was the first, concubine of the king. He was a 33-year-old, the king, and she was 17. She was dame d'honneur, as they say in French, the honor madam of the Princess Anne from England that was married to the king. And there was a scandal there, and because of that, so they. Uh, I think that he didn't care for Princess Anne, and they tried to hide that, and then later on it happened in the following life. Apparently, was most probably was JFK and was RFK, you know,
Right.
his brother. So um, she she carried the same demons, um, and apparently the demons need the same kind of conditions in order to continue their evil work.
Right.
So yeah, so she continued, as I said, is the law of continuation, and she didn't finish to really heal herself to understand what's going on. And I used, God and love and the, uh, any positivity I could instill in her in order to overcome the demons, and that happened eventually in the end of our work together. As I said, after 8 years, she seemed to be on her own to work with her band and sing and go to events, to gigs, what we say,
Yeah.
and yeah, everything. She was very functional, and she felt good, and she didn't want to kill herself. I think the main thing that resulted from this is that uh, as Marilyn Monroe, she wasn't murdered, according to my work with her. She she had an, I mean, she took an accidental high dose of different combination of drugs like
Right.
narcotics and hypnotics and alcohol. This champagne Perignon, whatever, it's Perignon.
Yeah.
She combined everything, So it's interesting also that physiologically, as I'm a doctor, I look at it this way. I was like 15 minutes into the hypnosis with her, and she was remembering when she took these drugs and champagne and everything, and she felt that she's suffocating in the end of these 15 minutes. And it takes about that long for this kind of substances that are liposoluble
Right.
to get into the brainstem, which is mostly made out of fat. So, and there are the critical centers of breathing and of the cardiac center. So that killed her. So I had to bring her out of hypnosis because I was concerned that she may repeat that and stop the heart, stop the breathing.
Yeah, this is a very it's very serious what I mean what you had to go through with this. And let's kind of look into what was it like when you actually were asked to bring this into a film? I mean, what was that experience like that for you? I mean, how amazing is that you were able to do that? What was that like for you?
Well, I had previous experiences, other past life regressions, plenty of them. It didn't surprise me that much, but certainly being a celebrity, she surprised me that she went through that, and I knew how to be careful because of my experience. That's why I don't recommend that this kind of experiences be, um, I would say, enabled by somebody that is not trained enough to do this work. So I wasn't surprised that much, but because she was Marilyn Monroe, obviously I'm a human, so I thought, well, Marilyn Monroe, why God wants me to be with Marilyn Monroe? Some other time I was um, with other celebrities. I said, why celebrities? I Most of them are not celebrities, but I got also these celebrities. I don't know, and I felt that I don't deserve that. I mean, why should I be the doctor of Antoine? I'm Antoine Daquin, the doctor of Louis XIV, or be the doctor of Louise de la Valliere at that time. Also, I was her doctor. She was very depressed, especially when the king found another mistress, Madame de Montespan, and after that, Madame de Maintenon. And so I had to lift her up, to empower her, which is the center of my therapy, to empower people because they are powerful. I I don't empower them really. I just remind them that they have the power, and that's the way I empower them. But they have it because we're all made in God's image and likeness, and God is the most powerful. So I guess that's very fascinating to work in this field, and I always was intrigued because I saw that there are improvements, and Dr. Friedman, a lady that did the same kind of work like me, uh, she decided at one point to interview, like to do interview me, and she interviewed like 200 people or close to that, if I remember correctly, and to see what do you achieve from that? Because my work with past lives was in order to be practical as a doctor, to be able to help my patients. So, and out of the respondents, about 200 of them, they seem to agree on certain points that they lost the fear of death.
Oh,
That was the first thing. And they became more humorous. They they didn't take into heart the way they used to from everything and from everybody. So they seem to be more efficient in their jobs, whatever they did, and to look to even change jobs to find what really, really they like in life to do. In other words, to fit like a round peg into a round hole rather than a square one. So, because in my experience as a psychiatrist, the most problems arise from the fact that people want to be the person they are not or do the thing they are not meant to do. And
yeah.
certainly they invite failure that way.
Hmm.
So, in order to be successful, you have to ask yourself, your heart, what is your call? Why are you here? What's the meaning of life for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're unique. Like you have a fingerprint that's unique among 8 billion fingerprints.
Yeah. One of the things, I did a commercial. I guess it was like right before the pandemic, and when I look at it, I still think it's really good because it's it's talking about the mission, our mission. What is our mission? What is the thing we're supposed to do in this world? And I would keep running into people in my work, and that was one of like exactly what you're saying. It's like the common thread with so many people is that they just weren't doing what they thought they were supposed to be. Like they didn't even know what they really wanted to do, and they really wanted to know, but they had no clue. And I just think that that's so important that we and I think God has the answer, don't you, Dr. Adrian?
Yeah, I'll give you a personal example. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
A personal example. My father wanted me to be an engineer.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and my grandmother wanted me to be a doctor because she understood me. I told her always I want to be a doctor. So because I was a doctor in previous life, so it's the continuation again, the law of continuation. But uh, if I would have done what he wanted, my father, it wouldn't have been good for me. I wouldn't have been a happy camper. But I appreciate engineering is fine. But I prefer Imagineering.
And in a way, if you think about it, it's a different type of engineering. It's more of a mental engineering.
Yeah. So anyway, and I prefer, to look at the comedy in life, not at the tragedy. I was thinking that, since we ate the fruit of knowledge in the Garden of Eden and didn't go by God's, rule, we out of our own doing, we expelled ourselves from the Garden of Eden, from the paradise that now we call it lost. But when we were there, we just admire everything, and we didn't have to work, and to consume our energies, and be able to survive just by our sweat of the brow or whatever. Uh, there we had everything, and God took care of us. Here on earth, we have to be careful how we do it. So, not to get in trouble. So, but there, the only thing not to do, not to get in trouble, is not to eat the fruit of knowledge. And basically, not to be arrogant and think that we're better than God and we know everything. And just because we're advanced in technology and everything, to be humble and to know that it's not because of us, because God wants us to have this kind of gadgets like we have now when we have this show. But it's for a purpose, and the purpose, uh, you know, is to return to the lost paradise, where we don't have to do our best and God to do the rest. We just have to be, and God takes care of us. That's why most people strive to return to the lost paradise, because on the seventh day of rest is probably the most important. It is, I think, because you find it in the Ten Commandments, and is the only one that you find it. Yeah,
In our religions.
yeah.
Yeah.
So whether it's spirituality or in the form of religion or whatever you want, but it's just our striving to return to the lost paradise is basically to rest, not to work. Uh,
Or
and but
work.
then you say, "Wow, how? What are you talking about, Dr. Finkelstein? You don't want to work. You're lazy or something." No, no, I don't say that. I say on Earth we should work. As a matter of fact, Freud, the father of psychiatry, said that the ingredients for happiness are work and love.
Yeah.
So, and I agree fully. But that's what happens when we're here. But deep inside, our yearning is just to rest in the paradise, the lost paradise, and to be happy, to have total fulfillment with God, be back to God. And this is the title of the book that we mentioned before, right?
Right. And I think when you find that thing that you love, then the work, it's I mean, like, I have so many things I'm doing that I love, and it feels like, yeah, I am spending my time doing this, but it doesn't labor me, it doesn't make me stressed. I'm happy to do it, you
Yeah,
know. I think
but
that when you love what you do, you don't mind doing it.
right. But the point I want to make, Mercedes, is that here we love to do things, but at the same time, it's a tragic part of our life. So we are like great tragic comedians as humans, but God is the greatest comedian because there is no tragedy with God. So in the Garden of Eden, in the Lost Paradise, you have only comedy. That's why comedy makes people release their tensions and feel so good. You don't do anything; you just crack jokes. And that's probably why I use it a lot. In my work when I see patients, and I think there was a film with what was his name, Patch something.
Patch Adams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, but you have to be serious sometimes. He wasn't serious in the movie for one time, and something grave happened, a tragedy. Somebody was killed. But the point is, that's why I'm saying here on Earth we are tragicomedians, but in the Garden of Eden it's only comedy. We don't have tragedy, in Netflix and all this, Amazon Prime and all this. You'll get only comedy, but people get bored of too much goodness and they want something. So they invented. In my opinion, as a psychiatrist, I think though majority of the people in the world believe in God and in Satan or devil, I think that God created humans in its image and likeness, gave them dominion over themselves and all the creation, and the choice for good and evil. And and humans created or co-created with God. Uh, anything that's not very happy, and even the devil. So, but when you create the devil, when you think very hard. What you think you create, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you become, and what you imagine also becomes with horns and everything, because and it's for real. It's experience for real, as we see in our other forum, the unseen realm. Uh, it's for real for some people, and they may get hurt by that. So I think still that it has to do with the culture, our culture, our raising by our parents or whoever raised us, that instilled in us this fear of the devil, of the demons. Marilyn Monroe was probably one of them that invited these demons through her appraising her experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But you know what? It's in every culture. So I mean, every culture for as long as there is written, I mean, there is something that is always, you know, always the opposite of God.
yeah. Well, I think every culture gets bored, and I think they have to invent something that to scare people. That's why horror movies are money makers in the film industry. Because you have the advantage of seeing this on the screen, but it doesn't affect you directly. And little kids like that too, because they like unless they're too small. I remember when my parents took me to a movie in Romania, and they weren't obviously as developed in their cinematography as they were here in Hollywood. But I I remember I was probably about two-year old, or I remember only that, but I don't remember things from 2-year old so much. But I remember that, and I was probably made aware of by my parents that and there was a film with cowboys and with cows, and the cows would come, from the screen to the audience, and I was part of the audience. So I felt that these cows are going to attack me, and trample me or something. But and I was screaming.
Well, in those westerns, you would see those cows that they have the cows like the camera was right there as the cows are running up. I remember many old movies like that that would be scary as a little kid in the giant screen.
Yeah, so it's funny. But anyway, I'm always looking for the funny bone in life, because I think there's a lot of suffering and pain, and I'm sharing that with other people, with my patients, with the nurses. And as I said, sometimes they ask me, Dr. Finkelstein, you always seem to joke about everything. I mean, aren't you serious sometimes? I go, well, sometimes.
Well, you do have to deal with a lot of things that are traumatic. I mean, it's a lot of trauma. So, I mean, if you had to bury yourself, I mean, it'll be literally like you're buried in it. And that's one of the things you have to learn when you're working with people, or I've had to learn, is how to not keep that, how to not keep that energy on you. And I imagine that this is one way of you, keeping your energy high frequency because you're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, and it reminds me that I visited Philippines 3 times, and I visited the so-called psychic surgeons that
I'm
enter
glad
your
we
minds
get
in
to
the
talk
body.
about this. Yeah.
But I don't know if we have time to talk about that. But just briefly,
Yeah.
the practical gain for me was that when I returned to the States, somebody blessed me. Sister Nieve there, she was a nun, and she touched my heart. She was also one of these magic workers of God with the hands, uh, healing people with energy. And she touched my heart. She says, when you go to the States, you will be able to heal people better. So she touched my heart with her hand, and I felt like I'm shook by electrical current.
Wow.
So, and then she touched my forehead, the same thing. The palms of my hands, the same thing. And you know, I really, the palms of the hands are so important, in order to heal, to transmit energy. When I came back, there was an 18-year-old female patient that was the worst patient, and very beautiful, very intelligent, very bright. And she, blonde, with blue eyes, but she was really hitting everyone, swearing at everyone. I
Mhm.
mean, it was she was on high doses of uh, antipsychotic medications, and my feel was that she was the patient of the chief of psychiatrists in the unit,
Wow.
and the mother of the patient found out about me, and she wanted to switch the psychiatrist. So she did it because they were about to give her electroshock therapy. So and the mom didn't agree to that. So she switched her to me, and in 3 weeks, it was after I came from the Philippines, and Sister Neary blessed me to be able to to help people better. And I worked with energies on her, and with all the positivity I had. And guess what? In 3 weeks, to make a long story short, uh, she was there for months. So in 3 weeks, she was okay. She didn't need the medications, and her mother took her out and thanked me. And after a year, during this time of Christmas or something, the patient called me to thank me that I saved her from electroshock therapy. And she's doing very well, and she's enrolled at one of the universities in the south, and she's studying PR. Uh, you know, so public relations. So I was so happy. I had goosebumps, and then 8 years after that, she called me again, and to thank me again, and to wish me Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, that's just like, I mean, that's a big that's a big deal. I
Yeah,
mean, what you did changed your unique abilities, and probably, that you were extra gifted at that time after that
yeah,
experience. you
yeah,
know God just like brought that experience to you to help specifically her, most
yeah,
likely, and others. So
yeah.
yeah, totally. And I love the I do know a lot about the psychic surgery. We've talked about something floating. We've talked about that before, and so I we are running out of time, darn it. But hopefully the next time, oh yeah, is that no, so this is
The
really
hands go into the body. I couldn't understand as a doctor that. And
right.
I took pictures, and I took motion pictures to see if the hand really goes in, and it was undeniable. And this was Alex Orbito, one of the healers that came to my house in Malibu once and visited. And so, anyway, we'll talk about
No,
when we have
book
time.
which book is that in?
Oh, this is in the first book that I wrote in January 1985. After
Oh,
s- after about again 6 years of working at it, and this is the book.
okay. I'm gonna get that book. Okay. And what's the title on that one? I can't see it.
Your past lives and the healing process.
Oh, right. Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to get that book. Your past life.
Psychiatrist looks at reincarnation and spiritual healing.
Very good. Very good. And it's amazing that you thought to take pictures. Very
Yeah,
good. I
yeah,
mean, imagine if you had the digital cameras. I mean, you took those pictures without digital, so everybody knows that that was a little bit. It's different back then when we were taking pictures in
yeah,
1985. So but sometimes they say now that the filming those pictures that were taken back then have a really great quality for catching things that even today's digitals don't catch. A lot of people will even use old fashioned cameras and recorders still to this day because it can pick up things a little bit different. I don't know if you've heard of that, but obviously it worked for what you were doing back then.
There were other people also that took pictures, but I was there. There were some doctors from France. I remember there was a lady doctor from France, and we agreed on all these findings. So I think there are so many things in the world, as Laplace said. What we know is little. What we don't is immense.
Right. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and I sometimes wish I had a 2 hour show just so I could stick on longer. But I think that I served the purpose as what I wanted, and I wanted to have you talk a little bit more about all this that we talked about tonight. So I do thank you so much for being here. Could you I'll just go ahead and say it, but you people to find Dr. Adrian. I call him Dr. Adrian because that's what we call him on the on the unseen realm. And I know that most likely you might even go by Adrian Finkelstein MD. Is
Yeah,
that yeah. So when I was thinking about that, I
yeah,
was like,
that's basically my name. I didn't have a choice, but
right. But
well,
I
I
love
had a choice to change it, but I didn't change it. I don't believe in change. I changed it in a previous life in this book that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but it has to do with Jean Harlow that,
yeah,
yeah, and myself that you can see blood here.
right.
Yeah, they say that I committed suicide, but I didn't. Somebody inadvertently in a struggle trying to help her not to kill herself, the gun turned on me.
Oh. Okay, now that's a whole yeah, we didn't even get into that one. So, for those of you that are like, what is he talking about? Well,
Yeah,
so
what am I talking- I'm here. I'm here.
yeah,
I'm back.
he has another he has a whole others there's so many books, but I mean you can literally just look him up, look up Dr. Adrian Finkelstein, and you will find all of this information and that book. And so basically, you know that this was one of your past lives. And
Right.
so it is interesting that, and then you wrote about it. I mean, it's just amazing that you went to
Not
that.
not only that, but you see, there's another book that I wrote about my 26 lives that were confirmed by Kevin Ryerson, the psychic, to Shirley MacLaine.
Wow. See, that's huge right there. And so, and if you think about this now, which book is that, Dr. Adrian?
I'm sorry.
Which book is that?
This is a search for love through many lives.
Oh, a search for love through many lives. I think I didn't see that one on the list. That's very interesting. I mean, like it's there's so much. I mean, there's so much about this that is a lot of people are interested in this.
Yeah, like the one that were called in the unseen realm from Sweden. Somebody called, and it reminded me one of these lives as a Swedish guy, um, hundreds of years back in Kiruna, an ore mine where I perished because the mine collapsed due to an earthquake in Kiruna. It's very well known that there are a lot of earthquakes, and people go and may populate these places and come to people, and they see ghosts.
Right, right. And that's a whole other subject too. Like, how do these spirits? So all of us, these spirits that are here that don't leave or that are able to come and go. I mean, they're definitely part. It's definitely a life. They're in a life. They're living. They're still communicating. I mean, this is just such a. It's a mind blowing. It's a mind blowing conversation, which I absolutely love. I love this stuff. I love all of this. So, Yeah, so we'll definitely. You should just be a monthly person. That would be. I probably would. I would love that because we could learn a lot from you if we just if we could listen to you every month. That would be really neat. Um, but anyway, we can figure something out. At least I would love for you to come back again, and we'll
I'll
talk
be
some
glad
more.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, everyone, we've come to the time when it is time to end the show, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that you can definitely watch Dr. Adrian Finkelstein every Saturday on the Unseen Realm, and that's at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can find him on all the he's on all the social media, and he's definitely online, so you can definitely find him. He's an amazing person to listen and learn from, and you can read his books and watch his films. I mean, he's done so many things. It's amazing. So thank you so much for being on this show.
Thank you.
Would you like to
You're
do?
great too. You're an excellent interviewer.
Oh,
So thank you.
thank you. And so we just want to send a prayer out to everyone to find God, to find that part of you that is connected to God, and to know that that is there. And we ask for everyone that is listening to this now and listening to this in the future, that that be the greatest thing that happens to each and every one of you. And God bless all of us, all of our cells, all of our molecules, atoms, all of the water in our body. God bless all of the light in our body, all of our organs, and bless them all to the highest frequency. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Good
Right.
night, Dr. Adrian.
See you later.
See you later.